Bulavinaka, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning to each one of you. I'm very pleased to be here this morning to address the teachers and students in remembrance of our Girmitia ancestors. This is the first time that we have organized a program for our students to understand the Girmit era and how the Girmit era contributed to the development of this country. But first of all, I just want to know whether you know about the history of Girmit. Well, if you don't, then today is a perfect opportunity for you to learn as we take you back to the Girmit days to show how Girmit, as an integral part of Fiji's rich history, contributed to the development that I talked about, that is the socio-economic development of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, while we enjoy freedom, prosperity, and unity, we must also appreciate that this did not come without a lot of pain, hardship, and struggles. Every year on 14th May, we take time to remember the journey of the indentured laborers who set foot on the shores of our beloved nation in 1879. This year marks the 143rd anniversary since the arrival of the first ship, the Leonidas from India, carrying 498 Indian laborers. Fiji was ceded to Great Britain in the year 1874 by the Fijian chiefs upon the signing of Deed of Cession. And the first governor of Fiji, Sir Arthur Gordon, was responsible for taking care of Fiji's economy. Since he did not want to disrupt the Fijian way of communal life, he suggested that laborers be brought to work in Fiji under the indenture system from India, because India was a British colony at that time. Unfortunately, when the British went to recruit some of these workers or laborers from India, they tricked the Indians and lied about many things, such as how far Fiji was and the kind of pay they will receive. The Girmitians were made to believe that Fiji was a land of milk and honey, that Fiji is a place where there is plenty of food and lots of money. The recruiters gave Indians false hope that they will have a good life in Fiji and targeted young, healthy people, men, women, girls, and boys. And these laborers were between the age of 25 to 30, most of them. And the idea was, if they recruit young, robust, healthy individuals, they'll be able to do more work in the farm. When the Indian indentured labor system was established by the British during the 19th century, it was to create a new way of acquiring labor from its colonies, and this after the end of slavery in 1834. So before 1834, countries were using slaves. In other words, these were all bonded slaves who were brought in from various countries to contribute to the economy. But when slavery ended, the Britishers came up with another system just to make it more legitimate. And this was the indenture system, getting the workers over, and they promised they will pay them well, they look after these laborers, but that was not the case. So even if you look at the history of Girmit or indenture system, the number of countries that come in mind. Fiji is just one, but there are other countries where Girmitians went and worked. For example, Mauritius, Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, there are many other countries as well. I mean, the list goes on. But these were the places where the Indian laborers or workers were brought to these countries to work in farms, in mines, and other sectors of the economy. The people who came to Fiji under the indenture system were called Girmitias. Girmit, the word Girmit means an agreement. So it was under this agreement that the indentured laborers came. So I hope you'll be able to know what Girmitia means and what Girmit means. Girmit is an agreement. Girmitias are the people who came under that agreement. The people who came to Fiji, they were made to work on sugarcane, cotton, and copra farms. And that's why you can see all the sugarcane placed in front of you, which signifies how the Girmit era, the Girmitias worked on the farm to produce sugar, and the sugar was exported, and that's where the foreign exchange came for Fiji, which helped in the development of the nation. The conditions in which they lived and worked were not good. They were beaten, kicked, punched, and whipped in the fields. Women and girls were ill treated, even sexually abused, and families were tortured. But the people endured these hardships and made a life for themselves after the indenture system was over. Some returned to India, but many remained in Fiji, often because they did not have enough money to return to India. Those who stayed back made Fiji their homes. Indentured laborers have done a lot to develop Fiji as a modern state. Their sacrifice and struggle nourished Fiji's economy. We all must appreciate the contribution of the indentured laborers. Most of the Girmitias did not have any education, but they knew that to get out of the hardship they were facing, they must provide their children with good education. And they also knew that no one could take away education from them. The Britishers can beat them, they can whip them, they can do whatever they want, but if they educate their children, no one can take away their education. And it is for this reason you have seen that different communities within the Fijians of Indian descent, for example, Arya Samaj, Sanatan Dharam, then we have the Muslim community as well as Sangam. They have established schools all around Fiji. A Girmitia by the name of Mr. Badri Maharaj led the early education revolution for Girmitias and their descendants. He used his own funds to establish Wairuku Indian School in Reki Reki in 1898, even before the Girmit ended, now known as Wairuku Primary School. Among the alumni from this school was none other than the pioneering Itoke leader and statesman Ratusel Alasukuna. In those days, not all children could go to school, but as more schools were established, more children received education and helped to build our economy. A number of people worked very hard and managed to get government grants with the provision of trained teachers and the beginnings of a uniform curriculum. We saw that our children, that is, the children of Girmitias, were given the education they needed. Today there are 180 schools, a university, and a nursing institute set up by the descendants of Girmitias. For many decades after the Girmit era, the sugar industry was the major contributor to our economy. Even today, sugarcane farming provides livelihood to thousands of people and still contributes to the economy through our foreign exchange. Sadly, on 14th May 1987, on the anniversary of the arrival of Girmitias, the first coup was executed by Sitiveni Rambuka, which saw the many descendants of the Girmitias leave Fiji. The remaining Girmitia descendants were made to feel like they were not as good as other Fijians and did not belong in this country of birth. And there were a lot of racial tensions and double standards which made life very difficult once again. In other words, first, the Girmitias, they suffered in Fiji, and then after the coup, the descendants of Girmitias again suffered at the hands of the coup maker, where discrimination was practiced and openly, the people who were born in this country, just because they were Fijians of Indian descent, they were asked to leave this country. And I want to share with all of you that my grandfather, he came on the last ship, and the last ship that landed in Fiji was Sutlej, right? Sutlej 5. That was the last ship that came. Now, when I visit India, or when I go to the country where my grandfather was born, I don't have anyone there. I don't know where he came from. I don't have any relatives in India or family members in India. I know nobody in India. I go as a tourist. I eat the food. I enjoy shopping. I meet the people there whom I have made friends. But that's the only connection I have with India. Other than that, Fiji is my country because we were born here. So that's the difference. But after the coup, things were very different for the Indians at that time. The 2000 coup that followed saw further brutality, mistreatment, and the loss of the fundamental human rights, which were under threat: rights of freedom of speech, action, assembly, and even religion. The true identity of all Fijians came with the 2013 constitution that allows everyone who is born in Fiji to have the right to be called a Fijian, regardless of race, religion, color, gender, or socioeconomic status. And this is the Fiji of today. We should not take things for granted. It is all thanks to the leadership of our Prime Minister and his vision for a united Fiji. His vision to provide education to all children, and his vision for a peaceful nation. It takes someone like our Prime Minister to protect every citizen and give us all a fair and equal treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk briefly about today's program. You will see the journey of the Girmitias all the way from then to now in our secure and peaceful nation. You will also hear stories of Girmitias, which was recorded at that time, and we'll be able to share those stories with you so that you understand clearly how the Girmitias were treated during that time and why Fiji has become a multiracial country. And I hope you will enjoy the program and learn about our indenture system today. Our ancestors deserve to be remembered for their work in education and in the socio-economic development of Fiji. It is important for our generations to be aware of what has happened in Fiji's history that made Fiji into a multicultural and multi-religious country that it is today. And I pay tribute to the Girmitias who shaped our lives and contributed to the development of our country. I also like to acknowledge our Itoke chiefs and people for their kindness in accepting the Girmitias, which has led to us now living side by side in peace and harmony. Although past leaders like Sitiveni Rabuka had divided this country on the basis of race, land, and religion, but through our 2013 constitution introduced by the Bainimarama government, we have been provided with security, equal status, and we are free to express our heritage without fear as one nation and one people. Thank you very much, and I hope today you all understood what Girmit is and why we celebrate Girmit Day, not only in Fiji, but all those colonies that went through the indenture system. So thank you very much, Vinaka Pakalevu.